I'm a huge fan of film in general. I love getting lost in the world of a film and I love thinking about how it was made, especially thinking about the craft and artistry that has gone into its creation. And whilst working on all different types of media, feature film, documentaries, animation, online content, I've always been making short films passionately on the side, as well as going along to short film programs to watch. Sometimes I even forget to stipulate the difference, and I'll say something like, oh yeah, so and so made a film about that. And I don't mean a feature, I mean a 5-minute short. To me, shorts are part of a bigger film world, and they are one of the best ways to be original, artistic, and creative. I recently had a chat with director and producer Gavin Reid, who makes short, self confessional documentaries about his life as an artist, and he had something to say about short film.
And there's a filmmaker called John Smith who I really like. And there was one time he won an award, and the person, someone else who was on the stage, when he came running up to the stage to collect his award, the person was like, "Oh, I thought it would be like someone in their 20s. Why is this guy with grey hair who's in his late 50s doing short films?" So I don't think it really, I don't think there's should be a big pressure to push yourself into making a feature length. If you're happy in your lane, then maybe keep to it.
I had never thought about this before, but it is expected that you start in short film and you move on to features. Lots of short films go on to be features, and lots of directors start making shorts and then move on to features. I have said those words repeatedly too many times. But you don't have to stop making shorts. Shorts have their own identity and are their own art form in their own right. The short film Whiplash has its own identity and purpose, as does the feature film Whiplash. And yes, the short helped the feature be made, but not because the short wasn't enough, but in fact, the short inspired more. Wes Anderson created a series of shorts for Netflix last year, even though he's an established feature director. It doesn't mean that once you've crossed that line, you can't go back. Shorts are their own piece of art. In all kinds of filmmaking, long, short, or otherwise, you have so many skills at use. You always have your typical crew, but there's also scaffolders and joiners and set designers, accountants, lawyers, caterers. There are stunt people, there are advisors, there are people doing pretty much any job you can imagine. It's a bit like a town. And on a feature film, it makes sense to have all of these people because you're making something long and grandiose and it's going to pull people into a cinema. On a short film, there's never the budget or the need for all those people. But you still need a lot of those skills. It's just that you don't need an individual person to do them on the shoot. So that sense of problem solving mixed with resourcefulness leads to some very creative outcomes. Maybe you don't have the budget to create a huge set, so you shoot things a bit tighter and you focus on the characters, and that brings the audience into their feelings more. Maybe you want to put the characters through something really intense, but you don't have the budget to show the big explosive event. So you show the aftermath, and then that takes you into a new part of the story. Maybe you need a specific prop, but you can't afford to buy the real deal. So you find a bunch of cheap things and you glue them together and you spray paint them and voila. You've made a little piece of art that's going to go within your bigger piece of art. And maybe this is why I've always been drawn to film. I'm an arty type of person. I like to draw, I like to craft, I like to make, I like to play music, anything that gets me making. And this is making lots of little things to create one bigger thing. That's filmmaking. The other day, I was listening to You Are Good podcast, a feelings podcast about films. And whilst talking about Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing, one of the hosts said something very profound.
And like another thing about the way we used to watch movies is that you would see part of something, you would go home and think about it, and you wouldn't really know if you would be able to see it again or when you would see it. And so the amount of thinking that you could do about something without returning to the image, I think, was very different than it is for a lot of people in America today in terms of our relationship to media.
And I love this. I wrote this down after I heard it because it resonated with me so much. I love thinking about something I've seen and not returning to it until after I sort of figure out my thoughts. I really like to let it rise inside my mind and slowly let things develop to see how I feel. Even in this instantaneous day and age, I do see short films that I don't get to see again immediately, especially at film festivals. So you might see a film as part of a program, and I sometimes take down the name of the director, and sometimes I reach out to them, especially on Instagram. It's quite easy to find people. But you still might not have access to that film again straight away. And it means that you get to think about it, and it becomes sort of mythical in your mind as you piece together the memories. And I like that. I think that's mysterious and I think it's fun. A sign that a film has had a positive impact on me is that I will think about it the next day in the shower. And I know that's a very specific and strange metric, but it's just something that has happened to me. I always find myself thinking about how I felt or going over a scene in my mind or thinking about some dialogue whilst in the shower. And it's just always been a way for me to tell if something's growing, if something is brewing inside my mind, if some thoughts are there. Clearly, short films have a special place in my heart, and I hope they do for you too. Let me know what your favourite short films are in the comments, and feel free to take a look through some of mine.